So that demonstration was promised, and today, indeed, it came off along the streets of Accra, and it was for a simple cause. The demonstrators want the government to stop the planned sale of 60% shares in 4 top SSNIT hotels to a company we know is owned by their great minister, Brian Champon. Now, that was something that happened today. There was a time in the protest today where it sparked some form of a scuffle between the protesters and the police, and from what the reports that we get, the police were forced to use pepper spray, and we've been told by the organizers some of the demonstrators ended up in hospital. We'll get to talk about that. But the fundamental question that we need to ask tonight is the mission, has it been accomplished? This mission that the demonstrators set forth today as part of the raft of reasons why they're taking this on. There's a petition already before charge. They are also going to fight this in Parliament, but they chose today to put boots on the ground, to register protests and to bring people into the fold and to show to the government that there is a groundswell of support opposed to the sale of the SSNIT assets. And so did they really accomplish what they set out to do? We'll get into that. But before that, if you're just joining us here on PM Express, let me give you a wrap of what happened today when met-Ablakwa and the minority and organized labor came together for this protest.
Hundreds of them poured onto the streets wearing red and singing patriotic songs. Intermittently, the songs were changed to reflect their mood and anger. They are calling on President Akufo-Addo to immediately stop the sale of the SSNIT hotels.
This land, the hotels, what is important is that the Alodian landowners must be given equity share in this hotel. There's nothing wrong with giving 30% of the equity shares of all these hotels to the Alodian landowners. And therefore, if you are going to sell it, sit down with them, think about it. Now, what is the benefit to our people? Have you thought about it? Who is going to take over? How much is the hotel sold? What procurement processes do they follow for a sitting member of parliament and a sitting minister of state to benefit from information that is sacred for anyone to contest for procurement processes? This is a violation of ethical rules.
And we will never sit down to let this happen. Ghanaian youth, this is the time. This is the time. Don't sit back and say, I'm found. It is really important that we all see the importance for we to come together and fight against this oppression.
There was an unexpected guest at the protest, the Lawulano, Ni Yemo Obroni, who is the high priest of La. He intermittently poured libation during the protest. He invoked the gods to deal with persons he says are not only grabbing state properties, but looting their lands.
I'm the chief priest of the land. So they are taking our property on lawful way without we Alodian masters' consent. Do you understand? So if I'm a chief priest, I have to fight for my right because I have kids coming. Do you understand me? Yeah. So we need to tell the government that any land belong to La Gadangwe, they should never dare. They should give our land to X. We don't want problem with you.
Yeah, which land specifically are you talking about?
Chado, Trade Fair, the OTEX, Beach Pump License Office. Here. They have been sold to somebody. Pass and Gadi, back here, no. What is this?
And you say the government has taken the lands without your consent?
Exactly. Government collaboration with the land commission. And this kind of land commission, they are bogus so far so good. They are useless commission over there. They have been stolen all our lands.
Part of the capital city is currently on lockdown as a result of the hands off our hotels demonstration. What you can see right now vehicles waiting in this gridlock. They cannot move because the protesters have taken over the road. On the road in front of the Labadi Beach Hotel and the La Palm Beach Hotel. As you can see, these vehicles heading to the Central Business District and other parts of the capital are unable to move. Those also moving towards 37, the Al Sports Stadium, Bema Camp area and its environs are unable to move. No vehicle is able to move at this point. It's a gridlock and a bumper-to-bumper situation.
It was all peaceful until a scuffle broke out between the protesters and the personnel of the Ghana Police Service. Police was forced to use pepper spray to disperse the agitated crowd. The protesters had tried going beyond the police barricade. North-Tongue Member of Parliament Samuel Met-Ablakwa says Parliament would take a serious view of the issue. He says some of the demonstrators were injured in the process.
We asked colleagues to rush them to the hospital. I suspect they are at the 37 hospitals, but I don't have the current report on their status because I've been presenting the petition. But I'm going there right away with our colleagues, and we will not abandon them in the battlefield. We are going to check up on them, and we'll keep you updated.
So what exactly happened to them, though?
Unprovoked, tear gas, pepper spray, and a number of them collapsed, a number of them got injured. Totally unacceptable. The police have exhibited bad faith. We agreed that we will terminate at Christ the King Church. Christ the King Church. This is not Christ the King Church. So why take us by surprise and then on top of that use pepper spray, use tear gas? We cannot accept that. We will look into this. I've told the regional police commander that Parliament is going to take a strong view of this, and you'll certainly hear from us on this matter.
Samuel Met-Ablakwa later presented a 15-point petition to the Deputy Chief of Staff, Emmanuel Edumwa Bosman.
We call on President Akufo-Addo to immediately stop the sale of our SSNIT hotels. 2, we take the view that state assets should not be sold, especially profitable ones. Historically, since 1966, the sale of state assets has not been in the supreme interest of Ghana, and we therefore cannot continue on that destructive trajectory. In any case, the government should not sell workers' properties without the permission and consent of workers and all Ghanaians. It is wrong, immoral, and unethical for ministers and government officials to buy state assets. President Akufo-Addo must not preside over this detestable and dangerous practice, particularly when he assured the nation that his appointees who want to make money through such transactions should rather stay in the private sector.
The Deputy Chief of Staff, Emmanuel Edumwa Bosman, received the petition and said government will study it and get back with feedback.
We want to keep in the spirit of democracy. As you know, this year is an election year. We want to do everything in a clean, peaceful, and calm manner. So I've received this petition on behalf of the President. I'll submit same, and I can assure you that it will be looked into and the appropriate measures taking place as and when it is deemed fit and proper to do so. Thank you so very much, and God bless us all.
So that there is a Deputy Chief of Staff who received the petition on behalf of the presidency and the government. And today, yes, you may have seen Samuel Met-Ablakwa on the field with the minority leadership also there today, but it was a joint effort. Also joining that is the organized labor. You have the youth groups from La and the Rise Ghana, the protest group that also came together to organize a protest that we saw. So, and we also saw at a very high level the organized labor coming there. And we'll be speaking to the organized labor tonight on the particular show. Remember, they were first to go out with the press conference very clearly asking the government to stop the deal, cancel the transaction that is currently underway. Tonight, we are hearing that the presidency has agreed to meet with organized labor on this. Already, the front of organized labor on that particular subject appears to be broken. We'll be speaking to the Secretary General of one of the federations that isn't happy with the approach because they want the president to simply cancel this transaction and doesn't see why they should be going out there to meet with the president when he has not done that. We'll get into that when we sit for a conversation pretty shortly on this. But this are the groups that came together today for the demonstration. You've heard already, met-Ablakwa go through for you the list of demands that they are making. Top of that list, obviously, is that the government should simply stop this particular transaction. That is currently, from what we understand tonight, it hasn't been stopped, at least from the 4 reps on the SSNIT board. They have told organized labor, from what we heard tonight from the leadership of the organized labor, that the transaction, the conversations around that is still progressing. So really, what did today's protest achieve? We'll get into that. It's part of the list of things they put before the presidency, including that the president should commit to signing this bill that the met-Ablakwa and the minority members are putting together, that the intention of the particular bill is to ban politically exposed individuals from buying state assets. And they plan to bring this as a private member's bill before the House for consideration, and they want the president to agree that he will assent to it once Parliament passes it. And that's something that will come. And you had already the spokesperson for the presidency, who also doubles as a deputy chief of staff, receiving that particular petition today and assuring that he would give it to the president, and everything will be done for their concerns to be addressed and fully considered. But is that enough, though? Is that really what they set out to achieve? And did they get what they want from today's protest? That assurance that they got today from the deputy chief of staff, is that enough for them? And if you're wondering the background to this, it's been 2 months of intense controversy. Looking at the timelines we've seen here, Samuel met-Ablakwa was the first to really move this needle when it comes to the SSNIT's plan to sell off his 60% shares in these 4 top hotels, and the controversy around the identity of the firm that won this particular bid, which is Rock City, which is owned by our Greek ministry. And he went to Shraj on the 16th of May to file a petition. Shraj has acknowledged the petition, and Shraj is currently investigating that. He's my guest tonight. We'll get the very latest from him, where Shraj is tonight in bringing some closure to this matter as far as that investigation is concerned. And then we saw that on May 19th, 2024 of this year, SSNIT itself issued a statement justifying what is happening in terms of the conversations with Rock City to close and finalize the transaction. They had told us that a host of other companies put in bid, and Rock City matched the winner because their bid was the most competitive. And then we saw that Shraj's acknowledgement also came in later, and this on the May 20th. So this has traveled quite a bit, and we've seen organized labor also jump in there with their own submissions on this, including vowing that they are going to resist this to the very last breath that they can muster on this particular subject. And today we saw the protest as one of those. But in the last few days, we've seen that SSNIT itself, they've gone ahead to put out the names of the companies that put in bids when they put out the competitive tendering announcement out there, inviting bids for the 60% shares that were available in these 4 hotels. And you saw them on their website, and we just reproducing them for you, because again, we're going to go through this. You see Rock City there. Of course, Rock City is the company owned by our Greek minister, and that company won this particular bid. But some really formidable names there. Spartan Knives, for example, is one of them that came also into the bid. They have a global reputation, they conglomerate, really, and they came in there with a bid. We don't know the terms of that bid yet. We don't know the exact details of that. It's something that ourselves here at Multimedia, we filed an RTI request to SSNIT asking for those details so we can compare that bid together with everything else that came in for them to consider, including the Rock City bid. What really made the Rock City bid stand out? Well, we'll get that because the law indeed says that we're entitled to it. We're waiting for a response from SSNIT. When we do that, we'll bring that to you. But you also have Temple Investment. You also have Yao Ado Development, all coming in with bids there. Luxor Hotels Limited also put in a bid to attempt to own the 60% shares, and that will make them majority owners and controlling stake indeed in a very profitable hotel, the Labadi Beach Hotel, which really is a crown jewel in all this. And that's why the controversy is centered around that. And many have said that if you look at the performance of Labadi Beach Hotel, they're actually in a position to buy out Rock City. Well, we'll get into that specifics when we sit down for a conversation. So the fundamental question tonight is, so they went out, they demonstrated, but is it mission accomplished? My guests are joining me for a conversation tonight. Stay with me. And thanks for staying with me here on PM Express. Joining me in the studio is met-Ablakwa. He's a man who has been leading the charge on this. He has a petition already before Shraj. Today, he led a team of people, like minds really, onto the streets of Accra today to protest the sale of 60% shares in 4 top hotels belonging to SSNIT. And as we know, the company that emerged as a winner in that particular bid is the company owned by their great minister. I will get his thoughts on what happened today and what next. PMS is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough, and you need to get Syntex Tanks if you really want to store water in a way that is lasting, but also ensures that the container itself will bring you something of durability in the process. It's the first to introduce a white inner layer tanks in Ghana. They also introduce the customer specs order. It is bespoke. You can order any size and color of preference. They have 7-year warranty, and they are across the country. Call them on 0244 335 168 or shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough. In the studio with me, as you know already, is met-Ablakwa, is the MP for North Tongue. Also joining me on the phone right now is Abraham Kumsing. He's the Secretary General of the Ghana Federation of Labour. We'll also be talking to the Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party, Richard Ahiagba. You see him there on your screens already, and he's joining us also. Today, of course, as you noticed when we brought you that excerpt of what happened today, the Deputy Chief of Staff was out to meet the protesters, and met-Ablakwa read out the demands, 15-point petition there. And Mr. met-Ablakwa, so today when you read out your demands, the Deputy Chief of Staff assured you that everything will be done, that it goes to the President, but also it will be considered. Did that meet your expectation?
Well, good evening, Evans. I'll come to that in a jiffy. Let me just use this opportunity. I'll be remiss if I do not congratulate Ghanaians for showing up in their numbers. I have to be honest with you that the turn-up today was beyond expectation. Thousands of Ghanaians. It tells you that this is a matter that is at the core of what Ghanaians find abhorrent, what Ghanaians find reprehensible. Public officials sitting in cabinet buying state assets. It is totally wrong, and everybody has been speaking against this, from civil society organizations, organized labor, you've had academia, you've had many Ghanaians who have said that, look, this deal is unconscionable. Blatant conflict of interest. You see constitutional articles like Article 78, Article 98 that have been breached. You also come to consider even the whole policy. It simply doesn't make sense. If SSNIT really is concerned about its investments in various investment portfolios, this is not the area you should be looking at. If you look at the SIGA report, for example, STC is the biggest liability consistently. Over the last 7 years, STC has been making losses. From 2017, as we speak, on the average, a loss of 32 million Ghana cedis. Only last year, they made a loss of 54 million Ghana cedis. And yet, nobody in cabinet is interested in STC because it's not profitable, because there is no milking cow. If you look at the portfolio of these hotels, Labadi Beach alone can help you pay for all the other hotels. So this arrangement cannot be in the national interest. And you look at the company coming to buy it, Rock City, we have now obtained their filings at GRA. Last year they made losses. The year before they made losses, massive losses. When they were making losses, Labadi Beach Hotel consistently making profits, increasingly. exponentially. Last year, Labadi Beach Hotel made profit of 158 million. They paid dividend to government 25 million. They paid taxes to government 20.5 million. Rock City had nothing to pay to government, nothing to pay to the GRA because they said they had made losses.
What are the specifics of their losses that you talk about? Rock City.
The filings to GRA, the whole year, 2023, they made losses. So they didn't pay any taxes. That is the returns that they submitted to the GRA. So how can a loss-making hotel, a loss-making entity, suddenly, have such hotel managerial prowess, skills unknown to those who are running Labadi, running Ridge Royal, running Elmina, running La Palm?
Not all the four hotels are profit-making. The La Palm Royal, for example, has been struggling for quite a while, and they are in quite some significant pickle there. So obviously, you have to make a fair assessment of that too in your evaluation. Of course, Labadi Beach Hotel is the crown and the jewel, but there are others that aren't on the same level. Yeah,
sure. I mean, there are others in the same level as Rock City. Yes. So Labadi, Ridge Royal, pretty much, safe investments, doing very well. Even La Palm and Elmina, they were doing very well until recently, which tells you that it's a management issue. And you see, the story of Labadi is what we should just replicate for La Palm and Elmina. So Labadi was struggling about some 13, 14 years ago. Then a wise board decision was taken at the SSNIT level that let's bring in new management. So they brought in Liberty from South Africa. They had an expert, a Dutch manager, Rene Vincent Ernst, signed a 10-year contract with Liberty. Then they had strong local content that the locals who understudy this international best practice company. And then after 10 years, Ghanaians take over. After 10 years, Ghanaians took over. It's almost 4 years or 5 years now. And these Ghanaians are even doing better than when the experts were there. So why don't you adopt the same model? Labadi has given you a classic example of the intervention that you need to make, the medicine that is required. So selling, divesting yourself of 60% shares cannot be an option. It cannot be the best consideration in the circumstance. That is why the overwhelming majority of Ghanaians, and let me thank all our partners, the TUC, the Federation of Labour, let me thank the Gamanche, the Gadangbe Council, let me thank the Wulomo, Wulomo, who really is a remarkable leader, joined us from the beginning, right from Labadi Beach Hotel, where he poured libation, asked for the ancestors to give us a successful march, and he felt really bitter about the land looting going on in the Greater Accra region currently, and continue to pray for us all the way to the end. Participate. I don't remember the last time I saw any chief.
You talk about the end. In the end, you submitted the petition back to the region.
And let me also thank the minority caucus in Parliament. Let me thank all the opposition parties who join us, PNC, CPP, Soben and Mona and the rest, Arise Ghana. I mean, look, the turnout, massive. Thousands of Ghanaians. So yes, let's
go to the specifics. Yes. So you got the Chief of Staff to come, the Deputy Chief of Staff to come here. He assured you that the government will do what they have to do to take the appropriate action based on your petition. Yeah. Is that assurance comforting?
Yes, let me commend the presidency, and I hope that the Bank of Ghana, at least, has something to learn from the presidency. The last time we marched to the BOG, they decided to just, treat us with contempt. In this instance, the president sent his deputy chief of staff, Mr. Emmanuel Edumua Bosman. He accorded us the respect. The chiefs and organized labor minority caucus who led this demonstration, we felt that the matters were taken seriously. They sent somebody we know who is of stature and who we can recognize and who we can be assured that our petition will be sent directly to the president. So that is a positive step, and I commend the presidency for that. Now, what we are looking forward to is that our 15-point demands will be met. The first one is that we want the president to announce. We'll be very happy if first thing tomorrow morning we hear this major announcement that this deal has been aborted, it's off the table, will no longer be pursued. That's what we want to hear. That's the first demand. You know, then we are also saying that this business of always selling state assets, and that's the first option that political leaders think about. We've been doing this since 1966. As an Nkrumahis, I know over 300 industries established by Kwame Nkrumah from 24 February 1966. We sold all of them. This mantra of government has no business doing business. Where are they? All the studies show that private interests hijacked it. They are not even doing well. They are not functioning. They have created no jobs. We missed out on the Industrial Revolution. We have benefited nothing. Let us adopt a different leadership paradigm. And I've already told you about what happened in the case of Labadi, which has served us well, which is yielding fruit. Government is receiving dividends. This year, Labadi Beach Hotel is on course to pay more dividend than the 25 million they paid last year. So let's follow that model. Instead of rushing to sell and selling to cronies, insider dealing, conflict of interest.
You say that you're going to be triggering a bill in Parliament, a Private Member's Bill.
Yes, and that is our 15th point in the petition we have submitted to the president.
Where are you with that bill?
We are saying that the president should commit that when he receives this bill, he will assent to it. We don't want, you know, he's gained notoriety in recent times for really treating Parliament with contempt, asking his secretary to send us cease and desist letters. I'm not going to sign your private members' legislation. We don't want that to happen to this. So we have Professor Kweku Azar, who is leading the legal team that's putting the draft together. Very soon, we will publish the first draft. We will have stakeholder consultations. And we are hoping that Parliament, before this particular session ends, will complete the work and then we'll forward to the president. We are saying that clearly, gray areas, you know, hazy areas in the law and the constitution is being exploited by some politicians. Let us now have a specific piece of legislation which is very, very clear and strict, precise, and that is best practice now if you look at other jurisdictions where they are talking about politically exposed persons. So we are saying that all politicians and then politically exposed persons should not be allowed to buy state assets. And I bet you, once this becomes law, more than 80% of these sales happening all over the place. Do you know that a few weeks ago, Parks and Gardens, they went to work only for some people to show up that they have title to their land.
I had the Willomo mention it today.
Yeah, it's been sold. The number of petitions I've received from civil servants, they've given them 2 weeks to move. Their bungalows have been sold to private developers. Prison service near Osu Runabout is gone. They've asked them by July they should leave. Private developers. I mean, it's like some marauding invaders. And when you pierce the veil, you'll be shocked to see who the owners are. Who are those buying these state assets? So, look, we have to clamp down. And the time has come for us to have this piece of legislation and all politically exposed persons. If you are my very good friend, everybody knows you are my associate. I cannot be selling to you because it will mean that you are just fronting for me. And that's where we've got into the level of plutocracy, state capture going on. Look at what has happened at Labadi Beach Hotel, where they've made history, the infamous history, where Labadi Beach Hotel has become the only beach hotel in the world without a beach.
That is a subject that you raise also in your petition.
Yes.
But I'm sure you noticed that the former chairman of the MPP has actually served notice to you that he will be suing you if you don't retract and apologize with the suggestion that himself and his sons had engaged in some underhand wrong dealing in acquiring that property.
Yes, and to be honest with you, I responded and expressed my surprise that he was giving me a whole week. You know, I was surprised that he wants to give me a full week, 7 days. I thought he would just proceed to court. When you're armed with the truth, you fear no foe, you fear no court, you fear no judge. The facts are very clear. I've gone through over 800 pages of court documents. Their business partner is exposing everything, spilling the beans all over the place. He himself, if you listen to that interview carefully, he concedes that they first went to see the management of Labadi Beach Hotel. And then he again says that Labadi Beach Hotel presented rates that were too high. So they then decided to go and see the La Traditional Council to buy it from them. And then he adds that they now own land which doesn't belong to Labadi Beach Hotel. How is that possible? You know that it belongs to them. That's why you went to see them. And then you claim that their rates were too high, and you went to see La Traditional Council. Now the Traditional Council is saying that they don't know who in the council you met. I'm sure you've seen the statement from Prince Derek J and others saying that we don't know who you met. Now, you went to see them. You signed a joint venture agreement, a copy of which I have, in 2019. When profits were made, the whole thing started. Let me give viewers a quick background.
Briefly, because I need to...
Very briefly. So Freddie Blaze's sons, they have a friend called Loic DeVos Jr., Belgian Ghanaian, I'm told. I don't know him, never met him. And from the court documents, he came up with this idea that the president has announced a year of return. Labadi Beach Hotel is an iconic brand. Let's take advantage of their the beachfront, bring in artists, and then do an entertainment extravaganza. Let's launch the Polo Beach Club events. And then they go see Labadi Beach Hotel. They sign a joint venture agreement on how to share the proceeds. They say that all the patrons, those attending the events, should come through Labadi Beach entrance, the main reception, so that everybody can see, and then they can calculate the gate proceeds. After the event, profits are made, then the elbowing begins. Loic DeVos Jr. is elbowed out. Labadi Beach.
But there's no evidence that elbows was done.
It's
not proven yet.
No, it's you see.
That's a claim of yours.
No, you know, they are, if you go through the court documents, you see initial rulings and all of that. They themselves concede that their relations have broken down. So they went to register another company. First, with Loic DeVos, it was Gold Coast Expo. Then the Blay brothers go register another company, Press Express Limited. And they have begun winding down processes in another court where they are saying that, look, there's no cordiality. We can't work together at Gold Coast Expo. So let's collapse that entity and focus on our new business with Press Express. So it's clear that it is that same portion of land. And Labadi Beach Hotel is saying that, look, people come to a beach hotel so that they can have the view, they can have some tranquility. That whole investment there by the Blay brothers is affecting business. People can't have a view again. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of nuisance. And people come and check in, and in no time they say, look, give us a refund, we are leaving. So it is even a miracle that after all of this invasion, this rape of Labadi Beach Hotel, they are still making profit.
Are you saying in the petition that they want the president to what? Reverse their purchase?
So we are saying that the president should tell his appointees to back off, to the extent that...
But they've done legitimate business. I mean, they've acquired a property, which is Freddie Blaze's point.
No, it is not, according to the board of Labadi Beach Hotel, it's not legitimate business because their MD, the former MD, they concluded that he colluded with the Blay brothers and denied Labadi Beach Hotel revenue. That's why he was dismissed.
Well, I mean, again, I must put on record that I don't have any evidence to back what you're saying right now about somebody colluding. I haven't seen the evidence.
Well, I can give you I can give you criminality. I can give you the board's report.
Yeah.
I can give you the board's report. And if you go through the court documents, indeed, Rene Vincent Ernst, the MD of Labadi Beach, is in court demanding a 40,000 euro compensation for his dismissal. You know, so these are facts. And you see, it's just clear that these state assets have been identified, they've been hijacked, and you have top politicians who just can't take their eyes off. And you talk to insiders who are running these entities, and they tell you, like, look, we are helpless. I mean, we're talking about top people who, you know, above our pay grade, we can't, we just can't stop.
I want you to stay with me for a second, because
that is why we are saying that, look, the state capture has to stop. And we need this new law that
to deal with it. Stay with me for a second, because also joining me, as I indicated earlier, is Richard Ahiagba, who obviously is the Director of Communications for the MPP. Also with me is the Secretary General of the Ghana Federation of Labour, Mr. Abraham Kumsing, who is with me. Mr. Kumsing, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Kumsing. Let's bring in Richard Ahiagba. Mr. Ahiagba, so you've heard Samuel Ablakwa. I'm pretty sure you followed the protest today. The Deputy Chief of Staff was clear to them that the appropriate actions will be taken after their petition has been reviewed. What's your immediate reaction to the action today by Samuel Ablakwa and his friends, but also civil society? We've seen organized labor also joining this protest today, and the La Traditional Council also joined the protest today. Your immediate reaction?
Thank you, Evans. One thing I guess I should say for starters is the idea that my brother and the group that he demonstrated with has the right, the democratic right to express themselves the way they did today. And so on that score, I think it's legitimate that they do that, and it furthers our democracy. But I honestly was expecting that the process he himself triggered with Straj, he would have allowed that process to terminate. And as you know, Evans, the president himself, through the Minister for Employment, has asked for some engagement with SSNIT to understand what is happening and how to deal with the matter. So for me, if the pursuit was really to correct any perceived irregularity in the process, that was the better.
Oh, I may have lost him there on the Zoom, but I have Mr. Abraham Kumsing with me. Okay, I lost you briefly, but I think you're back, yes. Okay, we would try and fix that quickly. The connection to him that is not stable. But Mr. Abraham Kumsing, you obviously have been a supporter of this protest today, but update me on something. And this is really at the heart of the demand, that you want the transaction stopped by the president. But from what I understand today, that the SSNIT is proceeding with the conversation with Rock City, even as the petition with Straj is pending and the protest is still continuing. You have at least 4 members on the SSNIT board, if you can confirm that.
Yes, but I think the role of our representatives, I think it has ended there, because I mean, what is happening now goes beyond what our reps can do, because they didn't do well, and that's why we've gotten to this stage. So the 4 cannot do anything again.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm asking you to update us on is, while all this protest is happening, Straj is investigating, has SSNIT itself at least put the transaction on hold while this is being sorted?
SSNIT won't do that. That's why we are expecting the president to instruct that the process stops for now, till we are able to settle on the solution. That's why, because this will not stop. This will not stop on their own, because they think that our representatives there have already made a commitment, and so why they should go ahead and conclude whatever decisions that they are doing. So that's the problem. So for now, the role of our reps has ended. There's nothing they can do again. So we expect the president to direct that, look, Minister of Employment, make sure you stop this whole process. Then we sit down and see how best we can resolve the matter. But nothing of the sort is happening. And as I said this evening, they have their interest. I mean, so there's no way they can halt the process if the president himself does not come in. They'll finish it, gazette whatever, conclusions, and it will be too late for us unless maybe there's change of regime and then, whoever comes, cancels this voting.
But Organized Labour is meeting the president next week.
Yeah.
Isn't that at least some progress there? Because they've been chasing this meeting for a while. There's confirmation that you confirmed this on radio with me, that at least on the 24th, the president has agreed to meet all of you on this matter.
Evans, meeting to discuss what? We are going to meet and discuss. See, if the process is not halted, it can be. They are playing some games with us, and so I think that meeting with the president will not, because the president knows exactly what we are asking for. So it's a matter of just telling them that, look, hold on, let us see how best. But he's not doing that. So meeting him, what is he going to say? What is the president going to tell us? The best thing for him to do is look, and Prime Minister, make sure this whole process is stopped for now, so we are able to resolve whatever differences that we have. But he's not saying it. So in the meeting, I don't see what is going to come out of it. I think that it will not help.
But that will be an opportunity to put your concerns directly to him. I mean, he authorized the Labour minister to meet with Organized Labour, which happened. You've noted that meeting did not stop the process. But this is an opportunity to meet him directly and put your concerns to him and demand answers and hear what he says.
Okay, we'll discuss and see. But unfortunately, I Organized Labour, I don't think we are properly organized. That's the problem. That's the problem. I don't see that solid, unity among ourselves. That's why all these things are happening.
Where's the disunity on the front of Organized Labour on this matter?
No, but you could see that Organized Labour, we have elected officers there. Because now is a PRO.
Yes, and today she was at the protest.
Yes, but the what we are discussing now is not for the staff of the TUC to come to represent them. I didn't see any of the elected officers there. That's very serious. This issue is not for her staff. If they give her mandate, what mandate? Who gave her that mandate? And who gave her mandate? What are they?
So you were expecting the senior elected members of the TUC represented to the other protests?
Exactly. They are really serious with this matter. Because why? You have been elected by workers to represent their interests. There are serious issues with the problems that we have to deal with. You see, you have been elected by workers to represent them, serve their interests. And there are problems. And then you relegate your authority or powers to a staff. I'm not saying that NA is competent, it's okay. But when it comes to dealing with mandate of elected officers, I mean, why do they do that? It's an insult. They are insulting everybody that don't mind them. This issue is not about just normal grievance that we can easily deal with it. This is not. This is a major problem that the TUC leadership shouldn't have done what they did. See, they went to ILO. They have all come back. ILO, they have come back. at least one deputy or even a national union, one of their board members. The board members can be a national union chairman or general secretary. That would have been good for us. But the way they are behaving, I'm not too happy about it. And, happy about the TUC.
And you've taken a position already that this meeting with the president, you personally, you will not be attending. You're boycotting that meeting.
I will not go. I will not go because the TUC, I suspect them. What are they doing?
When you say you suspect them, I mean, you are General Secretary of the Ghana Federation of Labour, so you are a very senior member of the TUC itself. When you say you suspect them, what are you referring to?
No, we are not part of TUC. We are part of the organized labour.
Yes.
But the TUC is not GFL. But together, we all work to, solve problems like this, which, affect our members. You see, because SSNIT, this time around, I think even the informal sector workers are even part of this SSNIT scheme. They are all contributing. The carpenters, the masons who are doing their own businesses, even traders, farmers, they are all encouraged to fight. But I know most of them are contributing towards this fund. And so I don't know why they should leave this lady. She did very well. Yesterday we were there. Today too, she showed up. And but it's not right for city to behave the way they are behaving.
So your
suspicion... I'm telling myself, look, they cannot continue to misrepresent workers the way they are doing.
Okay.
It's not right.
So your suspicion is in relations with the TUC. So your suspicion is about the TUC.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Because the four people who are even serving on the SSNIT board, how they were chosen, we don't know. We have raised issues. We have raised concerns. We don't do that. This such selections, you make sure that you do due diligence. You make sure the integrity and the competence of people that you are selecting are taken into account. You don't send anybody there.
Yeah, okay.
What is it?
Well, Mr. Kumsing, you want, again, and you say you'll tell them when you meet them, and I presuppose that this is something that happens quite regularly, yourselves meeting organized labor and TUC should be represented there. So you suspect that they themselves are somehow in on this whole transaction?
I suspect the leadership. Not the TUC.
The leadership. Itself. You suspect them. You suspect them of what? Of what exactly?
No, competitive in this whole thing that we are all talking about. This sale of
SSNIT shares in the hotels.
The discussions, we are told that when we met the Minister of Employment. This discussion started way back, I think 2018 or something.
Yes.
You see, so even the minister was even blaming our representatives. That, this thing didn't start yesterday. About 3 years, 2018 now is how many years? About it's more than 4 years. So, and you didn't raise any issue. And you sat there and waited for these transactions to almost end before you start operating. So what were you doing on the board?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Kumsing, I'm grateful that you brought these, of course, this aspect and this dimension to the conversation, because yourself, you are a leading member of organized labor. I still have with me met-Ablakwa in the studio on that point about, so what happens now whilst all this conversation is happening in the petition with Stride, etc. But Richard is on back. And Richard, do you not agree at the level of the party that whilst this conversation is happening, the petition before Stride, that it's in the interest of good governance that at least SSNIT puts a pause on the conversations with Rock City and this transaction and await the outcome of at least the SSNIT report and the president's own intervention in the matter, considering the assurances we had today from the Deputy Chief of Staff?
You know, Evans, the interest of good governance is actually what is being sacrificed here. SSNIT went through a due process to procure first transaction advisors, to put out RFP out there or invitation for individuals interested in buying any of these hotels that are classified in 3 lots to express interest. The process was ensued. There's a steering committee that supervised that, including the board chairs of all these hotels, members from the management board. So I see my problem, really. We can go through all the issues that my brother Ablakwa has raised about the transaction. But one thing he has not disputed is the process that led to the settlement on Rock City. Now, there were 6 altogether, including Rock City, that bidded for it. And it was settled that Rock City made the best offer. Now, my question is that if, for example, Yao Ado Development or Westridge had won this bid, would he be on this crusade? And the idea that because it is Rock City, it is something out of turn is, for me, corporate governance that we're sacrificing. The truth of the matter is that this whole transaction started sometime in 2018 when Brian Achampong, now a great minister, was not in that role that he is now.
Yeah, but he was a minister. In 2018, he was a minister. In 2018, he was still a minister. He's always been political exposed.
Evans, mind my word when I say he's not a cabinet minister. It's a deputy minister, he's not a cabinet minister.
Yeah, but I didn't say that. I'm saying that in 2018, he was a minister. I think Met-Ablakwa is a political exposed person, a senior, member of government.
But Evans, I am being specific on my wording, that he wasn't a cabinet minister at that point. So the conception that, they sit in cabinet and dish this thing to themselves is not tenable. Now, see the period that the transaction has traveled. 2018, 19, 20, 2021, Brian was not a minister anywhere in this government. He became a minister only in 2023. But then the process had continued in 2022, in 2021, 2022, 2023, and is terminating now. Now, the question is, has he had any unfettered advantage? That my brother Ablakwa has not proven.
No, but that's the subject of, that's the process that SSNIT is going into evaluate now. Is the reason for the petition.
Exactly. And so that was, yes, Evans, so exactly that was my point when I was opening to say that I would have expected him to wait for SSNIT to finish that process. Then we can establish that something untoward has been done. Now, he's jumped on the street. So the whole pursuit is now clouded in politics. Is it political or is it a pursuit to fix a perceived irregularity, which I don't see? So if it was a question of irregularity, he would have waited for the process to terminate. But now he's jumped ahead to get into this political fray. So for me now, this is a political venture, which then makes it difficult for us to proceed because now the SSNIT governance process that had been unleashed for this transaction to be decided has now been shortchanged. What is it now we're doing is that we're trying to micromanage SSNIT. And your question to ask that, should we, in the interest of good governance, put this transaction on hold, for me is a problem that shouldn't have happened. SSNIT went through a process, and you heard Mr. Kumson's rendition for you now, saying that Labour had been part of this process from start to finish. SSNIT steering committee that was put together had board chairpersons from these hotels, part of the steering committee that geared the process, the transaction process or the procurement process to finish. So for me, what we are encouraging with my brother's pursuit in this is where corporate governance is made secondary to political decisions or political pursuit of individuals. If by the Procurement Act, Evans, just briefly before coming, if by the Procurement Act, everything has been done according to law. And then the settlement is that Rock City had presented the best bid. My question is, why is that a problem? Because the law as provide for those procurement processes had been adhered to. If there was any question about the regularity of the process, that the law as laid down had not been followed, then we would have a conversation.
To that substantive question on the back of what you've said, you then have no issue with a politically exposed person, a man who was a member of government buying a state asset. You have no problem with that?
Evans, I am talking to you about the law Parliament has passed.
No, but I'm asking a direct question. I mean, the fact is that in 2018, he was a member of government.
You're asking for my opinion, and I'm telling you about the law. My opinion should not matter. The Act 663, amended in 2016 at 914, that act did not spell out any exclusion for whoever is politically exposed. So if anybody goes through this process to procure a service, and that service ended up being me because I presented the best bid, this is what the law allows. Now, if my brother wants to promote a law that bars anybody in his own standing, in my standing, from buying any asset that belongs to the state, that is a conversation in the future we must have. But presently, nothing untoward had been done. Now, the only thing that appears to be a problem here is that when all the processes were allowed to unfold, the person who stood in line in front as the best bidder is Rock City. And somehow, because that person is Brian Achampong, that process is no longer acceptable. And I'm saying that how do we accept as a country where rule of law is supposed to be allowed to prevail, as cede to a demand like this, when the law has been allowed to work and the person who won the bid fair and square is Brian Achampong, then we cancel it just because it's him. The question is, if the bid had been won by Yao Ado Development, would we be having this conversation? If it was won by Temple Investment, would we be having this conversation? If it had been won by Spartan Arts, would we be having this conversation? Or any other of the 6 people who were
stay with me. Richard. Stay with me, Richard. Those are questions that he's asking, representing the governing party's view there on the subject. That really, SSNIT is looking into this matter. That determination as to whether or not a location, a violation of administrative justice, we don't know yet, right? So why don't you wait for that before you proceed with the protest?
So there are so many problems with what my colleague, Mr. Hiagba, has been saying. So many problems. So first of all, it's important to stress that after the SSNIT petition, the government failed to halt the process. Now, SSNIT does not have injunction powers. SSNIT can only carry out their investigations. And it's one of the things we have discussed in Parliament, that we need to amend the SSNIT law to give them the power to injunct. The OSP can do that, but SSNIT cannot. So you cannot be accusing me when I have seen that you are going ahead, you have written to the management of these hotels to open their books for final due diligence for Rock City, and they are going around. You are about to finalize the deal. Indeed, if you talk to organized labor, when the president asked them to meet with the employment minister and the SSNIT board, they tried to convince organized labor that this was a good deal and that they want to go ahead if they could come along, so they will finalize it. So we had no choice. Once the president was stalling, refusing to at the very least, tell his appointees, you even hold on, let's wait for the SSNIT report. They didn't do anything of that sort. They were going ahead. So you left us with no choice than to carry out further agitation. And that is why we have done this protest. And that is why you heard organized labor say that they had to join us because they saw that they were hell-bent. The Elizabeth Ohene-led board, the Osafu Mafu-led management were hell-bent on finalizing the deal. Mr. Brian Achampong himself, or the Honorable Brian Achampong, has been defending this publicly and eager to close the deal. That's the first problem with the submission.
But he says, what's wrong with the deal? A deal that went through proper due diligence, went to the board, competitive tendering, international competitive tendering, organized labor reps were part, they considered, they approved it at the board level. This is proper good governance at play.
So many problems, no good governance. The claims that organized labor approved this. If you read the 20th May press statement by organized labor, they say their reps on the board opposed this and asked that the deal should be halted, and that they didn't know that the SSNIT management had proceeded until my expose. That's what they said.
Yeah, but you've heard Abraham Kumsin
say he has suspicions.
Yes,
has suspicions. That suspicion is not on the board.
And they haven't produced. I would
love to see board minutes.
Exactly.
I would love to see board minutes so that we'll know exactly what is going on in there. Then you must also consider that when this procurement process started, what was advertised by SSNIT is that they are going to have their six hotels in their investment portfolio up for a strategic investor to come and inject capital and work towards profitability and all of that. Even that it is problematic that they sought to treat all the hotels as if they are the same level. If you read even SSNIT's May 19 press statement, that was the impression they created until we secured the financial statements of all these hotels and exposed them that, hey, some of the hotels are profitable. You can't be treating all of them the same way. Now, the procurement process you started, you said that you are bringing in strategic investors for 6. How come you allow Rock City to choose 4? The juiciest of them. Under our procurement laws, you should have restarted the process. And organized labor has made that point. Why did you allow Rock City to leave out the most wretched, the most ramshackled, that is Buzia and Trust Lodge?
But we've said here on the show.
And you allowed them to leave those two. But who's going to have
But that's not entirely accurate, is it? Because you admitted that even the La Palm is struggling. It's a struggling hotel. So no, it's not entirely accurate.
No, you're clearly not getting my point. The procurement process
only went for all the
procurement process that was advertised, for which these companies were invited to bid, was for 6. Why do you create a special dispensation for Rock City? Why did you allow Rock City to go for 4 of the most juicy in the pack? Labadi, La Palm, Elmina, and Ridge Royale, leaving out Buzia and Trust Lodge. That's problematic. Then again, this claim that Rock City made the best bid. And so what? Look, you can make the best bid if your valuation is $121 million. As I know, I have the valuation report. And Rock City offers $61 million. The fact that that is the best bid, higher than everybody else in the pack, because everybody is making a very low bid, that does not guarantee value for money, doesn't mean that that is the best deal for Ghana. Because as it is now, we are being shortchanged. If you look at the valuation report, Elmina, for example, ought to go for not less than $7 million. Brian Champon's Rock City is offering only $2 million. La Palm, SSNIT's own valuation, $47 million. Brian Champon says he's offering only $31 million.
Well, somebody must outbid him. And in the process, he offered the best bid. It's just a process.
You can offer the best bid, but it still doesn't make the mark. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, you made that point, but it is a precept of the SSNIT board.
It is still below par.
To make a decision.
It's still below par.
So that they are selling.
So when Mr. Nyaba speaks as though this is such a great deal and we are getting value from it, we are not getting value from it.
But you concede his point that no process has been violated in
so many processes have been violated. So many processes. Look, he's talking about the procurement law. Is he aware that these laws are subservient to the Constitution? Article 284 is very clear. No public officer should put himself in a position that his private interest conflicts with his public office.
Shraj is yet to make that determination.
Yes, that is why I'm before Shraj. And in my case, met-Ablakwa Manibwama versus Jacob Ejibilamte, the Supreme Court held that the forum for conflict of interest is Shraj. And Article 287 is very clear.
Which is his point, that you should have waited for Shraj. So he cannot, if he's advising me to wait for Shraj, why is he then
preempting Shraj by saying that he doesn't see any breaches. I see a clear breach. Civil society, many people see a clear case of conflict of interest. He was in government. He should not have come anywhere near this transaction. He had not sought the Speaker's permission to hold an office of profit under Article 78 and Article 98 of the Constitution. Very, very clear. You know, so there are major constitutional issues we have raised. Then there are procurement breaches that we have raised. What was advertised, what others were bidding for, is not what Rock City was allowed to have.
In a couple of minutes, circling back to the protest today, what happens now? I mean, you just heard Abraham Kumsi say the process is still ongoing.
Yeah,
it's still ongoing. So it's very likely that by the time Shraj made a determination, by the time the president decides so, and you're meeting the president next week, he says he's not going because of the process would have finalized, Rock City would have taken over, and fait accompli.
Well, that's why we are agitating. That's why we are fighting. We have received calls from the central region. You know that the Edinach Traditional Council has also protested against the deal. Nana Kojo Kondua, the CIS himself, signed this protest letter.
Because one of the hotels also sits in the...
Yes, Elmina and then Ridge Royal. So it's likely that if we don't hear from the president in the next few hours clearly that they are halting this transaction, we will continue with the demonstrations. It's likely the next demonstration will be in the central region. We are not going to rest on our arse, look the other way, be compromised, and then be presented with a fait accompli when we know that this deal is not in the national...
Parliament is back. I know you've also suggested that you want to take an action in Parliament. Where are you with that?
Yes, so those questions have been filed. I'm seeking to summon the Employment Minister and the Finance Minister on various aspects of this transaction. Those questions have been filed. The notice to the Speaker about the breach of these constitutional provisions have also gone. But look, we must get the president to call his appointees to order. That really, and you heard organized labor, Abraham Kumsin has been very clear. These are all his appointees. And you see, why should this be difficult for President Akufo-Addo, who told us that those who want to come into his government to engage in such conflict of interest, to use their positions for transactions of this nature, for business and all of that, should better off stay in the private sector. Don't come for my positions and use it for profit making. Stay in the private sector, that's where money is made. I mean, does the president mean what he says? And does he say what he means? He should put his foot down. Tell all these his appointees, those selling a SSNIT and those who are engaged in all of this, clear state capture, to back off. I mean, why should that be difficult?
Yeah, I mean, and thankfully we can get some quick points on that. Richard, will the organized labor, will met-Ablakwa, will they get that from the presidency?
Well, I think the report or their petition has been submitted through the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President. I think that we'll know that once the President studies it. But what I want to say, Evans, clearly is that I will support my brother Ablakwa any day on a demonstration if he gets the issue right. But on this one, he's not got it right. The point is that even after you give him the chance to explain, he had not shown that there has been anything untoward done. His only point is that it is Brian Achampon's Rock City. And I'm saying that in a country where rule of law is to work, that cannot be our standard. We should allow for a process to work. If the process had been corrupted for Brian Achampon, I will join him tomorrow on a demonstration if he proves that these processes were skewed for Brian Achampon because he's a minister. But he has not been able to prove that.
But he's mentioned violations of procurement.
He said he disagrees. He said he disagrees.
Article 284. Article 284. Article 284.
Mentioned the Constitution.
But you see, I agree with that. But that's shifting the goalpost. How many procurement processes are we subject to that constitutional rule he's talking about? How many?
Okay, gentlemen.
And so because this involves Brian, he wants to subject it to that. So this law, it draws its power from the Constitution. And what is at conflict here is not that the law has been abused. It is because he doesn't like the outcome of a legitimate process, which is that Rock City had won the bid. Okay. That's his problem.
Richard,
because the question of whether somebody other than Rock City won the bid, he would not be on TV this night. He would be sleeping in the house with his wife. who I know very beautiful. He will be home spending time with his family, not on TV. But it's just because his brother Champo is on TV and cannot sleep tonight. And I think that I'm saying that should not be an acceptable process in the rule of law.
Richard, thank you very much.
It's a matter of principle. No matter who had won, who had been part of this process, I will have been against it.
Okay.
16 years ago, I was against the Honorable Jacob Speche. So I've been consistent.
Thank you very much. We'll watch how this unfolds in Parliament and wait for Shah. Has Shah responded yet?
Yes.
Are you going before them?
Yes, they've asked us to stand by. They've written to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of your evening.